So another question, a little bit different take here. You know, you have your elders, and obviously we want to be training men to become elders, bring new elders on. But when you bring a new man on the elder board, after they've been, make sure they're qualified, make sure they're trained, make sure they're theologically developed. So you've gone through a good process. Now it's time to bring that man onto your elder team, if you will. How do you help the elders that are already there to prepare for that, as well as the new guy coming on? Because let's face it, anytime you bring a new man on, it, in some sense, changes the dynamics of the elders. So I think a lot of guys, frankly, don't want to add guys for that very reason. But what do you do as you add guys to prepare both the elders that are already there, as well as a new guy coming on to be ready to work together?
Well, you mentioned one of the keys, and that is that preparation that takes place beforehand. I think part of that, and we'll maybe talk about this again on another occasion, but I think part of that is looking beyond even 1 Timothy 3 and Titus 1 and looking at, does a man really fit the context of that elder board? Is he going to be able to work side by side as a real member of the team that's trying to move the church forward? So even those practical considerations. But I think in addition to that, and I know you participated in this for years with me here, but having that potential elder or that elder candidate begin to attend elder meetings even before he's pursuing the process, so he begins to see and experience what it's like to be an elder and to function as an elder. He sees it ahead of time and watches the elders interact with one another. So that's really helpful, I think, just sort of looking over the shoulder of existing elders and watching that unfold. But I think once he's been through the entire process and now is going to be actually installed and functioning as an elder, I think there are some additional sort of preparation, maybe counsel that elders need to be given. As far as the existing elders, you mentioned that, I think just making clear that the Lord adds elders to the church, and we need to assess, we need to make sure they're biblically qualified, we need to make sure that they're going to be a good fit for the elder board in the ultimate sense. They're not going to be creating issues and problems, whether it's personality or otherwise. And I think once you do that, then you say, let's have another elder come alongside and shepherd them. Even in that preparation process, what we usually have is, if it's going to be a lay elder, there is another lay elder, one who's already a fully functioning lay elder, who comes alongside that elder candidate and helps prepare him. And part of that preparation is helping them understand how to function, how life on an elder board functions. And then on the backside, once they have been placed into that role, I think there's some additional training that can take place. And I think I've always seen that on the staff side, because that's kind of a unique thing when a man who's a staff elder becomes, let me say it differently. When a man who is on the pastoral staff becomes an elder, that's a unique situation. Now he's got to figure out how to function in two worlds, how to function serving as an elder with other elders, and then how does that, if at all, affect his daily responsibilities day in and day out as he serves as part of the structure of the leadership of the church. So that's, maybe come back, we'll talk about that in a minute, but I think with a lay elder, just helping them understand some of those basic, as far as I'm concerned, bottom line principles of functioning as an elder, understanding that you're not there to get your way, you're not there to sell your view, you're there to contribute your wisdom to the overall discussion, with the goal of none of us selling our idea, but rather sharing the wisdom that God's granted each of us into that problem or that opportunity, and coming to a consensus based on that shared wisdom, a consensus of the wisest way forward. A lot of the problems can be resolved there, because a lot of elders don't understand that. that they're not there to push their way through. They're not there to sort of come with their idea and make everybody else embrace it. No, we're there. The whole principle of plurality is so that together our collective wisdom is greater than our individual wisdom. And so we're contributing to that discussion, coming to a consensus together of the best way forward. So helping them understand that, helping them understand the principle of mutual deference. You know, you and I've talked a lot about that. The whole idea that the only equality on an elder board is when it's time for a vote. But there is no equality beyond that. You know, people are always our superiors in age, experience, gifting, whatever it might be. And there has to be the spirit of mutual deference. I've talked about it often, but, if we're talking about corporate real estate on, regarding our church and its properties, we're going to defer to the man who's been in corporate real estate his whole life. Doesn't mean we're going to mindlessly accept everything he says, but there's going to be the spirit of deference that says he probably knows more about this than I do. Right. Now, we can ask questions, we can make it past the smell test, we do all those things, but there's a spirit that says I can't contribute at the same level on every discussion and be as wise on every issue as other men around this table. So just those basic concepts are so important.
Right. I even think, too, for the existing elders, because they do have the history and, they've met for countless hours. And I just think those men being mature will be patient with the new guy come on. Because, the new guy, he doesn't have all that history. He may bring up things that you've dealt with 16 times in the past, and I just think when you have godly men serving, there's a gentleness, a kindness, a humility that goes with, what, he's not been here. Right. And so those are questions we've dealt with, but we're just going to have to be patient and shepherd them through those things. That's part of growth and developing as a team, as a group of men that work together. And I've seen that work well here, but I think so much of it, like you say, it's shepherding that man for a long time before he comes on. And when you say sitting in and watching, it's not really participating with the elders. Right. He's just watching. He's just watching month after month after month. And those things have been so helpful to maintain a healthy group of elders here, which has been great.
And then as you and I have talked about, I think even now, beginning more intentionally to try to inculcate some of those concepts about how an elder board functions as a man's coming on board, so that he understands, for example, don't come in your first meeting and you've got major comments on every issue. As you said, there's some experience, there's some background that the other elders have, and you need to get up to speed. The same spirit you would have, I hope, if you were joining any sort of board of any kind. And so just helping guys to understand that. I don't think while the elders are godly men, they're wise men, I don't think that we can assume in today's world, because many of them are coming from churches with dysfunctional leadership or dysfunctional elder boards at some point in the past. And they're still learning what that looks like. And so I don't think we can assume that in helping them get up to speed.